Lynn Woodland. Welcome to the Miracles course. I'm the author of a couple of books about miracles. The first one is Holding a Butterfly, an Experiment in Miracle Making. And this book, well, it goes into a lot of my own experiences with miracles kind of around the world. But it also just draws all readers right away into a live, active, in real-time miracle experience so that you start seeing miracles happen as you read the book. And the second book that I wrote, The Breakthrough Point, A Spiritual Activist's Guide to Thriving in a Modern World, that continues the miracle experiment. It's a very experiential book to read, but it also takes a really deep look at our times, the times we're in, and why they're so volatile and unprecedented, and how we can actually ride the wave of unpredictability rather than feeling pummeled by it. And now the Miracles course is a year-long program of personal and spiritual development where every weekly lesson is basically a complete experience. So you can drop in at any point without feeling like you're coming in the middle of something. And at the same time, every class builds upon the last, much the same way every season builds upon or leads into the next. Because really the content of the course, in fact, uses the 4 seasons as something of a template for the whole of the human journey. So we cover a pretty wide range of personal and spiritual experience, all with the ultimate goal of living a miraculous life. So really there's no beginning and no end to this course. It's very much of a circular curriculum. And it's why a lot of people just choose to keep doing the course over and over again. So here we are we're getting into midsummer. We're past the solstice and it's getting warm out there. And as we move into summer and into nature's most abundant growing season. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, you'll want to have pen and paper handy for tonight. And I suggest always having that nearby when you do these. But anyway, this is the time of year when nature is just so going crazy. I like to give attention to themes of abundance in general and money in particular, which is going to be our focus through the whole month of July. July is Prosperity Month in the Miracles course. And I have to say, I have seen so many people have so many interesting experiences going through this whole month where they'll tell me after the fact, somebody kept calling me during class, and at first they wouldn't leave a message, and then finally they left a message. It was really disturbing. But then I listened to the message, and they were like giving me this big dump of money that I had no idea they were planning to do. I mean, people just come back with all kinds of stories like that, of just money like raining down on them. And I've had that experience too. So I always love July. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Right, Bill? We love July. Prosperity Month? He says, yeah. Yes, we do, he says.
Yes, we do.
But here we are in the month of rapid growth. But when it comes to growing, we've all heard the expression that money doesn't grow on trees. No, no, no. We can maybe even hear that phrase with a particular family member's voice attached to it. And, while we may easily grow way too many cucumbers and zucchinis and tomatoes in the summer, enough to share with our friends and our neighbors without even giving it any thought, we all seem to recognize that with money, this easy abundance somehow doesn't exist. There was a novel that came out several decades ago now, and it became a big bestseller. It was by the name of The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. Maybe some of you remember it. It became kind of a New Age classic. And it just very beautifully encapsulated complex spiritual and quantum truth by defining everything in the physical world as this vast system of energy. And as we've already touched upon in previous lessons, physicists call this vast network of energy the zero-point field, and speculate that it could one day just endlessly meet all of our energy needs. But this abundance is invisible to our physical senses, and so far outside of the range of our physical attempts to tap it. And it's kind of an irony that in this sea of abundant energy, we tend to experience ourselves in a world of scarcity. So consequently, Redfield wrote that much of our current interaction among humans involves trying to steal from each other, because we feel weak and insecure. And this insecurity compels us to go through life like containers, just trying to scoop up everything we can and hold on to it for fear that whatever we release might never be replaced. And really, those who fall at the higher end of the wealth spectrum often have the same depth of money worries as those who have much less. So collectively, we just give tremendous attention and effort to making more money, even though as studies have shown, once our basic needs are met, having more money doesn't really make us the least bit happier. There's been all kinds of research showing that. There's a baseline, like a certain level of poverty does create suffering. And then when we get to a certain point, having more and more and more and more doesn't make us go any happier on the research scales of all the psychological testing. So in spite of the endless examples of extreme lack that can be found on our planet, the truth about scarcity is that it's really more of a shared myth than a reality. And our experience of lack is created and perpetuated by fear. Just think of the vast amounts of energy and resources we use up in just trying to protect our wealth from other people who might try to take it, or on stealing a piece of someone else's. You can think of this in terms of the huge amount of effort that goes toward protecting and aggressing on a national scale. Look at what Russia's doing to Ukraine. Think of the incredible amount of energy going into that. But we do it on a small basis as well. Each of us having our own little house that we protect and, are very kind of fearful about having that violated. Just imagine what might happen if all the energy that now goes into national defense budgets all around the world was directed instead into raising the quality of life for everyone. Just imagine what could happen if all the resources and creativity that now go into competition and advertising and going after, that proverbial bigger piece of the pie, imagine all of that energy going instead into producing the highest quality product and the highest good for all. And those are the kinds of things that I think get hard to imagine. It's easier to envision more of a cataclysmic end of the world than it is to imagine universal cooperation and well-being and prosperity. The wars, the greed, the military spending, the abuse of the environment for profit, and all kinds of other atrocities that result from our fear of not having enough. Those things aren't really the fault of governments or corporations or large institutions. This is an insecurity shared and perpetuated by all of us, even the most politically correct among us. Just think about your own minor hoarding tendencies. How many material things do you own that you haven't used in maybe a year or more? Are there things in closets and drawers and boxes, your attic, basement, garage, that you don't use, maybe you don't even like, but you keep because, they're valuable. You might need them someday. Or because you just haven't taken the time to sort through them. Just think how much of a little hoard you're sitting on. I know I don't consider myself a major hoarder, but I've got a lot of stuff in my closet I haven't worn in a year. I've just been thinking it's time to do a clear out. Do you hold on to money? Maybe waiting until the very last minute, maybe even past the due date to pay your bills. So if you've been able to identify even a little bit of, a stockpile that you're sitting on or minor withholding tendencies, just think about multiplying it by the millions and billions of other people on the planet. Just imagine expanding it exponentially. And just imagine what might happen if each of these individuals, everything that was hoarding, everyone who was hoarding, released everything they had that they didn't use or like. It's, as I say, it's kind of hard to imagine. Our problem isn't so much one of scarcity. It's more about a collective planetary myth that makes us all fear that there isn't enough. So we go into a place of fearful withholding. And really, there's nothing like money to trigger our deepest fears and bring out some of the worst of us. Even many of us who believe ourselves to be honest, upright, non-materialistic, may still be tempted to cheat a little bit on our taxes or resent paying our utility bills or something else that's just gotten a little too high, a phone bill, cable bill. Just think of how many marriages have ended with just fierce haggling over money and families that have been bitterly divided over the distribution of an inheritance. Carolyn Mace is a best-selling author. A number of books. One of her earlier ones was Anatomy of an Illness. She's a medical intuitive, which means she can kind of see what's going on with people physically. And she wrote, I'm quoting her here, within each of our psyches lives an element of the prostitute, a part of ourselves that could possibly be commanded by the right financial figure, end quote. So true. Really, money is one of the primary symbols of power on our planet today. In our minds, we connect it with all the various qualities that represent empowerment. We imagine it to be synonymous with security, with love, with happiness, with vitality and self-worth, empowerment. And if we don't have enough of these intangibles, we're taught that money will take us there. You know, we all know the expression, money isn't everything. But when we're in financial fear, when we really are in a place of fearing we don't have enough, doesn't money just start to seem like everything? You know, it really can start to feel that way. And we invest money with so much power that it sometimes starts to feel like the only means to an end. But unfortunately, when we get this fixated on money as the solution, that has a way of taking us further and further down a bad rabbit hole. It takes us further from the inner experiences we're craving, you know, for well-being, for joy, for happiness. Having more and more money doesn't really give us any of those inner experiences. And it can become an obsession that distracts us from what we truly need. And we all have different expectations of money. A gambler I once counseled believed that the big win was the only way for him to achieve, you know, that feeling of success, the self-worth he hadn't been able to experience in his multiple failed careers. And so it was kind of sad each time he won, even though it kind of triggered a lot of, you know, chemicals that just went crazy inside of him. But each time he won, he, in a way, affirmed his belief that he had to rely on winning what he wanted because he wasn't good enough to earn it. And with each win, he wound up feeling more inadequate and more of a failure and further away from what he truly wanted. But it was easy not to notice this because the pursuit of the big win was so addictive. Sometimes we think money is going to buy us the opportunity to do what we want. And, you know, that isn't even always the case. That can be a rabbit hole, too. There was a woman attending one of my workshops who had a strong desire to make money, and she wanted to make more money so that she would have more freedom to pursue her artistic life. She's a musician, she was a visual artist, and many months after completing that workshop with me, she just shared that money had just stopped being a problem. She just stopped focusing on it, stopped being a problem. She went on to say that nothing about her actual finances had changed dramatically. They simply weren't really an issue anymore. And what she did change was her focus of attention, which she shifted from how to make money to just doing what she loved, being happily creative. And as she did this, she suddenly found many opportunities opening up for her to do the work she loved. And, you know, money stopped being an obstacle. It just seemed to show up when she needed it. And eventually she wound up being in the right place at the right time to receive a good-sized grant to do a fairly lengthy project with art. And that just really changed her life. And if she'd followed the path of limited thinking that was kind of directing her to make more money, make more money, make more money in order to have what she wanted, she might have continued for years at a not very fulfilling job that left her with little energy left for her true calling. But money is so abstract. What is it? What is money? It's got to be something more than the little slips of paper. Used to be a bit of metal. Sometimes it's still a piece of plastic. But it's getting more and more and more abstract. So it can kind of move around without us ever touching it, without it ever becoming something solid. You know, it's just a thought. Robert Kiyosaki wrote a great bestseller called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where he shared and compared the different advice given him by his best friend's rich dad and by his own financially struggling, but still, you know, doing perfectly well enough middle-class dad. Now, rich dad says money isn't real. Rather, it's just what we agree it is. And he went on to say, the more real you think money is, the harder you're going to work for it. And this is so true. And the more we agree that money is scarce, the more scarce it becomes. The more that is our reality. And the more we struggle for it, the more it tends to bring out the worst in us. So more often than not, when we're in the grip of fear over financial scarcity, what we're most inclined to do is exactly what will make the problem worse. Where we tend to freeze up, which just stops the flow of energy within us, you know, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you know, energetically, all different levels. Our bodies become kind of stiff and rigid. People frequently develop back pain and other kinds of physical ailments when money fears are high. We also, when we get all stiff and kind of shut down that way, we become less able to give and receive love. We tend to feel more separate and alone in relation to other people. We also close ourselves off to our inner guidance. You know, we fail to see inspired solutions, and we cut ourselves off from sources of help. So consequently, we feel more and more and more at the mercy of our lives rather than the creators of them. And all of this has a very powerful impact on our flow of money. Fear becomes a real downward spiral that tends to bring our worst expectations into being. And where we're going all this month is just some overviews and then some really deep dives into how to stay open to the flow of prosperity and to keep scarcity fears from taking hold. Tonight's lesson is going to be kind of an overview of the whole topic of how to stay open to the flow of prosperity. And over the month, we'll go into some of these themes in greater depth, including some various things very specific to money. But this week is all about seeing the bigger picture and becoming just more conscious of our relationship with money. Because when it flows smoothly, you know, when we have enough money, when we're not worried about money, it doesn't matter how much we have, but when we have enough, and we're not worried, we have energy to fuel our highest aspirations. You know, we live on purpose. We live in happiness. When we live in financial scarcity, again, scarcity isn't so much about how little we have. It's about how much we experience lack. I'll say that one more time so it comes out smoothly. Scarcity isn't about how little we have. It's about how much we experience lack. You know, get the difference? There's a big difference. It drains energy from more meaningful things we could be doing with our lives. And it keeps us small. So, you know, it doesn't matter really how much we have. It's about how comfortable we are with that flow, to what extent we feel free of scarcity, free of lack, like there's plenty of what we need and want. So this lesson is one of the longer ones, and I'm going to abbreviate it a bit for the sake of time. Tonight might run a little bit long as it is. So do read over the written materials. If you're new tonight, this class has the live lesson that we do here with me. Then we have this recording posted along with some comprehensive written materials that go along with each lesson. And at the end, I'll tell you how to access those. You find them on my website, and you need a special code to get in. So we'll deal with all of that tonight. Just know there's a lot more to tonight that I suggest you read. The written materials discuss 5 different areas related to opening the flow of prosperity. And I'm going to go through them fairly briefly. The first one is the importance of feeling safe. And I go way more in depth in the written materials, so do read those because this is important. Because money can so easily trigger fear, it's really important to give particular attention to cultivating the inner experience of safety, which is different from feeling protected. When we feel protected, we feel like our walls are going to hold. When we feel safe, that's the feeling of safety. Safety is the feeling of, I live in a harmless universe. It's really different. Safety is something that's from within. Feeling protected is believing that your external supports will hold. So to feel safe, it is about cultivating something within yourself. And the written materials will go a little bit more deeply into that. And it's really important because, all the affirmations and prosperity techniques in the world aren't going to help at all if we don't first address all those undercurrents of anxiety that keep us from being receptive to spiritual shifts, to spiritual guidance, to, those inner nudges that guide us toward our highest good. So because this is kind of an extensive piece in the written materials, I'm just going to jump right over and say, go read up on that. Read up on it. I'm going to jump right into the second area I wanted to talk about for creating flow, financial flow. And this is just about letting go. Letting go on every level, really. Because an abundance of mental, emotional, and material clutter, it just all takes up space and makes less room for what we truly need and want. So opening the flow of prosperity requires clearing away whatever we've been holding on to from a place of fear rather than love. Even if the connection isn't immediately obvious. Like how is letting go of this going to affect that? But it does. There are energetic connections even when we can't see the physical point A to point B causation. And some examples of cleaning out and letting go that can be very energetically powerful. One is just cleaning house, letting go of our clutter, our excess, whatever is unwanted. So this is a good month to give some attention to cleaning out your living space, or maybe your workspace, or even your car, or even just your purse. That gunk that's way down deep that you haven't really wanted to reach in there and touch because it's how long it's been there. Consider finding some part of your space and cleaning it out. Even a token gesture like cleaning a closet or taking out the garbage, emptying your refrigerator, especially if you make it into a symbolic act by holding the intentions that your actions are making space for whatever it is you most truly want. So in other words, you Could be every time you dump something in the trash, you just hold in your mind, I am now releasing everything from my life I no longer want, so I'm making space for what is truly of my heart's desire. Just add that thought every time you physically let go. It turns it into more of a gesture with energetic, oomph behind it. Another aspect of letting go is in your thinking. So this month, make a practice and start it this month and let it become a habit that stays with you. Start a practice this month of letting go of talking and thinking about poverty. Words and thoughts are powerful. What we think is what we often wind up creating. So let go of statements like, I can't afford it. Because really this is seldom the truth. A truer statement is probably that we don't choose to use the money we have in this way. And that's a much truer statement. So saying, I don't choose to spend my money on that is a more empowered statement than telling yourself, oh, I can't afford it. Because the more we affirm such things, the more they become our truth. Also, give some attention to letting go of poverty as an excuse and as an identity. When I first started working with these practices, I found I often said, I can't afford it, instead of telling someone I didn't want to do something. And I started my life, I lived in a spiritual community. We were all poor as little church mice, happy as can be, just doing our little spiritual work together, having hardly any material, abundance, but, just really happy. So I kind of was used to thinking of myself as poor, a poor little light worker. And, if I didn't really want to go somewhere, I would just often say, I can't afford that. And, as I started working with principles of prosperity, I realized I had to give that up, that excuse, in order to have more money. In fact, I had to be more honest and say, I don't want to do that, as opposed to, I'm sorry, I don't have the money to do that. Sometimes that meant telling someone, I don't want to do that thing with you, which is, my choice rather than, oh, it's my circumstances. I'm just a victim of not having enough money. So, see what I mean? It's about getting yourself out of the mode of thinking about yourself as a victim of your circumstances in any way. That's a lot of what we're working on here throughout the year in different ways. This month, really give attention to how you think about yourself as being at the mercy of your financial circumstances, and start to think about that as not being the truth. So another aspect of letting go is surrender. In other words, let go of trying to control everything. And don't you just kind of feel your shoulders drop when you give yourself permission to, I don't have to keep the world together. It won't fall apart if I stop trying to micromanage every little detail. If you try too hard to do everything yourself, you'll eventually break down, and then you'll feel unable to do much of anything. So it's important to learn to ask for help before you get to that point. Now, this is so important that we actually are going to have a whole lesson later on in this season that's about how to ask for help, how to make it not scary, how to do it. So that's coming. That's coming. Also, surrender is also a little bit about letting go of needing to be right. Surrender to a higher power and allow your higher self to take charge. Just let go. Let go of the past and the future. Really learn to live in the present. We're creating our prosperity right now in the present by the thoughts we're thinking and the life we're living in this moment. Change begins right now. So make the most of it. Just notice what your thoughts are about. Are they affirming that you live an abundant life and all is well, and that you are just surrounded by the sweetness of life? Or are you worrying about, how am I going to get it out? So from which mental state are you creating? Just be aware, be attentive. Also let go of anger, as anger and resentment really do stop the flow of money very quickly. And, we go into dealing with emotions, especially anger, in other sessions here. But, you can always just get a little bit of relief if you're feeling really angry. Just put a pillow in front of your face, scream as loud as you freaking can. Just try that a couple times. You don't even have to feel like you have it in you. Just start, try it. That will, just making that kind of loud noise, sometimes just beating on your bed, stomping with your feet, even sitting in your chair, just stomping and screaming. What you'll feel in your body afterward is a feeling of like, kind of tingling and more alive, like you've just kind of broken up some old energy patterns. It's really a very helpful thing. So even if you feel kind of silly doing it, try it. Letting go of anger doesn't mean like, okay, it's going to think nothing but happy spirit thoughts now and meditate. I'm just not in that realm anymore. That's very good too. But there is a level of anger release that sometimes has to involve just going down in and through it, like the part. That's a really healthy, important part. Don't leave that part out. Especially if you're someone who can't even imagine making a loud noise. Like your voice is always well modulated. If you do try to get loud, it comes out sounding like a little chant or song. That, for you in particular, it would be especially helpful to just find your primal scream. You don't have to make a whole lot out of it. You don't have to decide if you're mad at your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister. Don't worry about the what or the why. Just allow some of that energy to process through your body that way. Just try it and notice how you feel afterward. I promise you'll feel some things come back to life. Releasing resentful and judgmental thoughts toward yourself and others is also an important thing. And you can just, those are the thoughts are the things we can choose to stop and replace with something peaceful. The anger, the feeling in the gut, the kind of building up in the gut, that kind of thing. That's where you need a good scream. The little stories we tell ourselves over and over, those are the ones that are good to just let go of and move on from, replace with some different thought. Now the next area I want to talk about is about receiving. Because as we hold the intention to receive greater and greater prosperity, and we make space for it by letting go of what we no longer need anymore, we will begin to attract gifts on many levels. And then comes the challenge of overcoming often long-held learned patterns of unworthiness, of fear, of doubt, of guilt, all the things that prevent us from receiving from life. Whether it's from people just wanting to buy us lunch, or from God, just wanting to bestow our birthright of happiness and joy and abundance. You know, we can have a lot of built-in learned programs that say no, I can't receive that much. And if we reject gifts as they start coming our way, we strengthen old habits of seeing ourselves as unworthy, or as the gifts as unworthy, or of believing that nothing good can last. So why, get excited about something good showing up? Or, some of us have it drilled in that we shouldn't take more than our share. It's really important to stretch open to receive not only the big gifts that we've asked for, but also the smaller, less obvious ones we didn't even know we wanted. God will only give us as much as we can bear to receive. And if you think you'd be willing to win the lottery, yet you say no, no, no when your friend tries to buy you lunch, or you routinely turn down offers of help, and maybe you sidestep compliments and just make some little self-deprecating joke, then you're not as open as you think. If you're projecting these clear messages that you can't bear to receive even so much as a compliment or a free lunch, then, God, Spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is not going to burden us with bigger and bigger gifts. So as we develop a habit of acknowledging and gratefully receiving all the small gifts that come to us, it really does make us magnetic to bigger and bigger gifts. We create that energy of attracting. So, really teach yourself to receive gifts. Look for gifts everywhere. The more you look, the more you'll find. Eliminate statements like, oh, you shouldn't have, or I can do it myself, or I don't really need it. And just replace them with thank you. And meet it. Add a smile. Let it come from your heart. And if you really do give a heartfelt thank you back, a heartfelt that says, I so appreciate you and this gift, then you actually are giving back a powerful gift. And the receiver will take it in and benefit from it. So, as I touched upon, learn to receive compliments. Pay attention anytime someone gives you a compliment of any sort. Listen to it, take it in. Imagine that your willingness to receive this gift appreciatively is making you magnetic to prosperity. So, also learn to receive help. If you're used to doing everything yourself, it's important to cultivate a new habit of saying yes when help is offered. And if you have all sorts of reasons why this won't work, or how it's more trouble than it's worth, how it's easier to do. Well, thank you all. So those of you who are new tonight, thanks for joining. Come back again anytime. See if you can just let go of whatever you think you know about letting others help you. Imagine there is a lot of help out there that maybe you've been blind to. So start noticing how many opportunities to receive help come your way. Even if you're not yet ready to take advantage of them, just notice opportunities. Now, last but not least, of course, opening to receive love is super important. Let love flow in your life, because love makes you magnetic to financial prosperity as well as to basically every other form of your highest good. And when our focus on finances becomes too absorbing, we just start to withdraw ourselves from loving and being loved. So you have to really pay attention so that you don't do that. Also learn how to just receive money. Learn to receive, gifts of money even that come your way, maybe surprise gifts. I've seen a lot of surprise gifts come to people this month doing this course of prosperity classes. And, let yourself just say yes and thank you. Even, if you just see a quarter on the street, pick it up, say thank you, see each small gift as a sign of bigger gifts to come. And FYI, if you're thinking, oh yeah, well, my family offers me money, but I don't want to take it, the strings are too thick and heavy. Well, next month, we actually are going to look at how it's possible to receive a gift without taking in the strings that were attached to it by the giver. Like even if one of those gifts comes to you with all the sticky strings attached, there is a way to just receive the gift without taking the sticky. And we'll talk about that more later in August. So the fourth area of opening the flow is about integrity. We're all conduits through which limitless universal energy flows. And our personal integrity, our honesty, our word, all these things make up the structural integrity or strength of this conduit. And lies of every sort create leaks. Just think of it as a big water main with little teeny pinpricks in it. Each pinprick diffuses the power that can come from us as well as the energy that can come to us. Every time we tell a lie or cheat or break our word, we're creating a leak in the integrity of our pipeline, which is the pipeline through which we receive spiritual energy and all of our highest good. So where I'm going here related to finances, instead of seeing integrity as something you do for others, as part of being a good person, think of it as the foundation of your own personal power. And as this relates to prosperity, it's important to honor financial commitments and to pay our bills with integrity. Energetically, when we stop payment on debts, it tends to, when we freeze the outflow of our funds, we tend to freeze the inflow of funds as well. So while we may be spending less, we're likely to find ourselves with less and less to spend. And as we break promises, we set in motion a pattern of finding ourselves on the receiving end of other people's broken promises, be it financially or in other areas of life. That just, what goes around comes around. And as we break commitments, as we make excuses, we also just affirm our role as a victim rather than a creator of our world. And, when we just feel like we don't have enough, not paying bills may just feel like an easy solution. When we're feeling in scarcity, it's like, I just won't pay that one this month. But energetically, it just leaves unfinished business that's going to find us again one way or another. So simply changing your thought process from, I can't pay this, to how can I create enough money to make everyone happy, is a significant first step. And then you can shift from, okay, I can't pay all of this, so how much can I pay? And, have a conversation with the person to whom you owe and just say, I can't pay it all, I will pay this much. It creates a whole different state of mind, state of energy, and you're likely to actually find it to be much less of a struggle to increase your income and clean up financial messes that way than it is to just walk away from debts. And there's a lot more on this in the written materials, so again, go back to those. Now, last but not least, the fifth area I wanted to talk about related to opening the flow is giving unconditionally. Because unconditional giving requires seeing past all of our illusions of scarcity, and which is kind of the illusion of the physical plane. You know, it's the paradox that there is this 0 point field that physicists are aware of, that they understand it is limitless energy, and yet, you know, we don't really know how to tap it. We find ourselves in this human physical world where we can't see all this energy, we can't really feel it. You know, we believe that there's not enough because that's what our eyes tell us. So unconditional giving means seeing more with our spiritual vision that looks past the illusions of scarcity that, you know, we're so immersed in the physical plane, and trusting in an abundant and benevolent universe. And what allows our giving to be truly unconditional is the certainty that we lose nothing in sharing what we have with others, because there's always so much more left for us. Because, you know, the source is unlimited, so anything we give away just creates space for more to enter. And this faith in the abundance of the universe is what allows us to fearlessly give, even when it means living empty for a time. You know, like, oh, I'm just going to give this much, even though, you know, for the moment, I don't have it anymore. There is this little empty space. When we look at that past the illusion of scarcity, we see empty spaces really as more of a vacuum, ready to be filled, ready to draw something new into it, rather than as lack. What truly characterizes unconditional giving is that the act of giving is its own joy and reward. That's when we know it's unconditional. We don't need anything back to feel fulfilled. That's, you know, that's the real sign that we gave unconditionally, that it just felt so good to give. And paradoxically, when we give this way, we always do receive back, and often in really surprising ways that exceed our expectations. Unconditional giving has a way of just really connecting us to the miraculous. It just connects us to that beyond the illusion realm where all things are possible. However, the moment we begin to give with the agenda of God rewarding us for our good deeds, then our giving is no longer unconditional, and, you know, we're not attracting the same abundance back. It doesn't work the same. It is the joy of giving, not the act of giving, that makes us magnetic to our higher good. And giving includes giving thanks, even giving to ourselves, if it's really out of our pattern and we're not doing it from a place of fear, fearful holding on. We're just giving it as a gift of self-love. Of course, it includes giving to others, giving our love, giving toward a higher good. And, you know, of course, it's important to find ways of giving that are joyful, because that's the point. If there isn't love and joy behind the gift, then we're just going through the motions. It's not going to create a flow of abundance in our lives. And ultimately, it's not creating all that much value for the recipient either. So it's important to give only as much as we can give joyfully, without expectations, without regrets, without resentment. Again, there's more on this in the written materials. So I want to give a little more attention here to letting go. We're going to do more of an exercise with this. one of the things I suggest is to start some letting go in your space. And I will, I talk a lot about that in the written materials, how to go about it, where to start, how to make it a powerful exercise. But really do look into those and make this a month for really clearing your space with the intention of opening yourself to what you truly want in life, to truly calling in your highest heart's desires. So this is going to be a little meditation in letting go. And for this, just get comfortable in your seat. Just close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Just inhale deeply. Exhale deeply. And just take a moment to let your whole body relax fully. Deeper and deeper with each breath. And your attention turns inward. And now we're just going to ever so gently and lovingly reflect upon ourselves for the purpose of cleaning house. So imagine in your mind's eye, seeing yourself in your space, place that you live. Begin by imagining yourself in your bedroom, might be where you are right now. But just picture this in your mind's eye. And look around at all the furniture and objects in the room. And what do you see here that serves no purpose other than to take up space? They don't really bring you joy. You don't love them because of their beauty or functionality. You don't even really like them. They just take up space. What do you see that fits into that category? And open your closet. Inspect cabinets and dresser drawers. What do you see among your clothes and other things that you haven't used in a year or more? And just imagine now gathering up all of these things and releasing them. Just imagine giving away or selling all your unused items that still have some value. And see them being enjoyed and appreciated in the hands of other people. The things that you just didn't even care about, didn't even like. To see other people really enjoying them, feeling really happy to have found them. And see these things that haven't been serving you just take on a new life and usefulness in the possession of someone else. And as you look around and see things that really are just trash, just gather stuff up in garbage bags or recycle bags. Throw away or recycle everything that's no longer usable. And imagine as you do this that everything you release creates an empty space that draws into it just like a vacuum. Something precious to you, something you really want. It could be something material, like a new object. It could be a feeling. or an experience. And just as you do all this letting go, just feel that you're completely safe and taken care of. Know that there's no loss or sacrifice in this letting go, because as you release things from your life, you make room for a stream of new and wonderful things to enter. And just enjoy the clear space. Perhaps your space has had a cluttered feeling to it. Imagine what your space looks like when it's clean and clear and open. And know this open space is telling the universe that you are open and ready to receive. So move into other rooms of your house now and release all the objects that no longer bring you joy. Go through closets and shelves and drawers, your basement, garage, your attic. Go through your refrigerator, clean out everything old. Imagine yourself as just a whirlwind, just pulling together every single thing that you don't need, that you don't want, that you don't love, that isn't precious to you in any way. Letting it go easily, effortlessly. And as you do this, each area of your house just fills with beauty and just a clear, radiant light. Like the space that's left just fills with light. And now examine other areas of your life. What else in your life is old and no longer serving you? Examine your thoughts, your habits, your activities, your relationships with other people, maybe even with people who are not actively in your life anymore, or the people you're still holding on to in your thoughts, in your emotions, when they're no longer serving you. And just be aware of any ways in which you're holding things in your life out of fear rather than love. And knowing that you're completely safe and provided for, imagine releasing all of these things that no longer serve you. Imagine the empty space you create through this letting go is filling up with clear white light. It just quickly draws to you exactly what you most need for your highest good. And so just be at peace. Imagine your space open and clean and clear, filled with a dazzlingly beautiful light that's attracting to you not more of the same, but exactly what you most need and want for your highest happiness. The people, the circumstances, the material things, the money, the events, everything, this clean, clear space is now just magnetically calling to you. And just be grateful, be at peace. And gently now just bring your attention back to the rhythm of your breath. Just breathe your attention back to the room. When you're ready, Just take one more deep breath. Open your eyes. It's always good to have some water after a long meditation. So there is more to this lesson, and because it's so long, I'm going to leave you to read it in the written materials and to work with that. Right now, I want to just, put a pause on what we're doing, open it up for questions, comments, thoughts, and that'll do it for us tonight. As always, it's a pleasure and an honor and a blessing to be with you all. And until next week, this is such an exciting month. I just can't wait to see how we all, just manifest all kinds of exciting things. So, until next week.
Thank you.
I love and bless you. See you then.